3.3, numbers 2 and 4. These two questions have to do with finding the slope of a line that is given to us as a graph. And just making sure my microphone's on here. Okay, so let's take a look at this first one, number 2. We want to find the slope of this line. So first let's think about the ways we can find the slope. So slope can be given by the change in y value divided by the change in the x value. So it's change in y over change in x. And there's a couple ways we can do that. We can look at it just visually, see what's happening, and count the change that's happening in the y value, or the height, and the x value, or the horizontal change. We can also choose points on the line and plug it into the formula. So that's also equal to the change in y would be the y values, the difference in the y values for the two different points. So y2 minus y1 over the difference in the x values for the 2 points, x2 minus x1. And we could say that this is our first point here, x1, y1. Now this point is -2, -4. And this is our second point, x2, y2, and it's at the position 3, 3. So first let's look at it just graphically. Let's count the change. And what I usually do is I move left to right, and that's a good habit to get into when you're looking at lines and thinking about the idea of a slope. Think about what's happening as you go left to right, from one part of the line to another part. Is it increasing or decreasing? If the line is increasing, you have a positive slope. If the line's decreasing, you're going to have a negative slope. And let's look at the change as we're going left to right. So we start at the leftmost point. As we go to the next point, we have a difference of height of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this change in height here is, so I'll call it change in y is plus 7, all right, because it's increasing by 7. If we were decreasing instead, we would give it a negative. And then from this position to the next point's position, we look at what's the change in the x. And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To the right, positive 5. So that means, looking at just counting how much things are changing, I can use this formula right here. The change in y over the change in x will give me 7 over 5. So let's move down here. So slope equals 7 over 5. That's our answer. I also want you to see that you can get the same answer by choosing points and plugging them into the formula. And we'll get the exact same result. So we could do it another way, or plug this into the formula. Slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Right, so we're going to take the points that we labeled, and it doesn't matter which one you call point 1 or 2. All that matters is that you're consistent. So x for point 1 is y for point 1, and for point 2, x and y are both called number 2. So we plug those values in, y2, so the height or y position of the second point is 3. Take away y1, the height or y position of the first point is a -4. Watch the double negative. All right, so we subtract the values, so we have subtract a negative here, divided by x2. The x position of the second point is 3. Take away x1. The x position of the first point is -2, again a double negative. And that gives us 3 plus 4, which is 7, over 3 plus 2 is 5. So you're still going to get the same answer. Those two are equivalent. So it's a matter of preference, really, but you definitely want to know this slope formula, and you want to be very comfortable with the idea that the slope is change in y over change in x. So let's look at another problem now. Number 4, we're asked to determine if the slope is positive, negative, or 0. And what you always want to do when you're thinking about slope is picture yourself going left to right and see what's happening to the line. As we go left to right here, the line is decreasing. Therefore, it's a negative slope. Alright, so the general rule of thumb, and if we were to pick some points on here and to plug them into the slope formula, you would see that we would get a negative slope out of that. General rule of thumb, if line increases left to right, you get a positive slope or a plus slope. If the line decreases left to right, you get 0 slope. Now we could also have a situation where we have a vertical line. Undefined slope. A slope that's not really measurable, just so you have examples of each one here. It's getting cluttered. How about over here? This would be positive. Alright, so it's all by looking at it and seeing what happens as you go left to right. What happens to the height or the y position.